To you guys the last kind of section here, or for tonight at least. This is not the last section in the book. This one is interesting. It's called the nefesh of the sinners, the soul, as it were. Nefesh is kind of like the lowest level of the soul of the sinners of Israel in the era preceding the coming of the Moshiach. So this is basically the concept or the main kind of idea that got Rav Kook into a lot of trouble, right? And I'm sure he didn't care, or I'm sure he kind of like understood that it would get him in trouble because, again, he was writing about things that were basically at the very least 50 or 75 years ahead of their time. And again, the rabbis understood what he was writing, and they may have even secretly agreed, but they were very, very, very scared to lose, basically to lose people because the Jewish nation or Jews in Europe, for example, lost a lot of people to the Haskalah, and the people that were starting or founding the state of Israel, they were the, so to speak, descendants or the second generation of this Haskalah, or maybe even the first generation of the Enlightenment era, where basically Jews, so to speak, got emancipated. They left the shtetls, they went into the cities, they went to university, and that's it. And c'est la vie, my friends, Alright, so this is what he writes on about these people that basically were working to found the state, and they were shedding, so to speak, the accoutrements of religion. The nefesh of the sinners of Israel in the era preceding the coming of Moshiach, of those who connect with love to matters concerning the entirety of the Jewish people, the land of Israel, and the renaissance of the nation, is more perfected than the nefesh of those fully faithful Jews who lack this quality of an intrinsic sensitivity to the good of the whole and the building of the nation and the land. This, my friends, is a very, very, very controversial statement. And I find it actually interesting because at that time there were also, Orthodox Jews coming to build the land. But they were not coming to build, they were coming to build the land physically and till the land and farm, but they were not coming to build, so to speak, a government, an infrastructure, an army. So Rav Kook said something very, very, it's like them's fighting words. You know what I mean? This is serious stuff, my friends. But the ruach, so to speak, the spirit, is much more perfected in those who fear God and who see. Now he's trying to make a save, right? And who keep the Torah and the commandments, even though an intrinsic sensitivity and an impulse to act in matters concerning the whole of Israel are not yet as strong in them. So he was predicting, basically, he was saying that, like, at some point, these guys are also going to realize, religious people are going to realize, well, you know what, there is a value to us having a government and having an army and having this and having that. And my friends, I'll tell you something, if you go to Israel today, there's a new generation of Haredi people, of black hat people, that are finally starting to become a very integral and integrated part of the state, to the point where some of them go to the army voluntarily, they're not being forced, they're not being coerced. They're going into high tech, they're going into work, they're going in, they're participating in society. They're not sitting just, obviously there are people who are sitting in their shtetls and sitting in their close communities, but at the same time, what Rav Kook spoke about, these people are finally kind of crawling out of their, it's like a Groundhog Day. The groundhog is coming out of his hole, as it were, and showing himself. So now, so he says, is not yet strong in them, as they are in those in whom a spirit of transgression fouls their heart to such a degree that they connect themselves to foreign perspectives and to deeds that pollute their physicality and prevent the light of the Ruach from being rectified in them. It's interesting. Meaning, he was basically saying that, like, Haredi people would connect themselves to, they would basically, it's true, this is something that happened to Orthodox Judaism, where it's called the Catholicization of Judaism, to the point that it becomes so puritanical and so removed from the world in their quest and attempt to, so to speak, be away from sinning and away from these people who are dropping religion, that they're basically connecting themselves to foreign kind of outlooks. It's a foreign outlook. As a result, the nefesh of these sinners too suffers from their blemishes, meaning what ends up happening, my friends, is what you see today in Israel, right? So, like, the frum people close themselves off, and then the secular people, or what Rav Kook calls the sinners at that time, they look at the frum people as these insular, archaic folk, and never the tween shall meet. And then you have a situation now where the media is starting to spin things about frum people, and these people are basically separated from each other, and then we turn to have a situation of sinat chinam. And he says these people also suffer from their blemishes because only now finally, let's say, we're seeing a Kiruv movement. Finally these, and if you guys go to Israel today, you'll see it on the ground that like these communities are finally starting to kind of interact with each other. Secular and religious people are starting to cross paths, right? And Rav Kook spoke about this. He says the rectification which will come about via the light of the Moshiach, of the Messiah, and which will be greatly aided by spreading forth of the teaching of the secrets of the Torah, which is like Kabbalah and the deeper Torah, and the revelation of the lights of the wisdom of God in all its forms that are worthy of being revealed, is that Israel will come together in one bond. I'll tell you something, guys. If you ever ask yourself the question why something is kind of, commercialized, or some people think silly, as Kabbalah Center has become very, very popular in recent years, my friends, it's if you look at what the world, or what in particular a certain segment of the Jewish people is clamoring for, they're clamoring for that secret and what's called pnimiyut Torah. They're clamoring for these things, and if they're not going to get it from the orthodox world, right? If they're not going to get it from the Haredi world, right, which doesn't want to have anything to do with them, they're going to go somewhere else, to somebody who knows how to sell it to them, right? As ridiculous as it is, and as much as half the people in the class are non-Jews, don't keep Shabbat or mitzvot or Torah, but it doesn't matter, friends. It doesn't really matter. These people are going to, buy from whoever's selling this, and if it's not going to be Haredim, it's going to be someone else. This is what I've been trying to convey to some of my friends in the Kiruv world, and it's not falling on deaf ears. They don't get it. See, it says, and then the nefesh of those who are God-fearing, who keep the Torah, will be rectified by means of the perfected nefesh of the sinners, meaning it's all going to come together. It's going to be a big kind of national tikkun, and it's all going to come together before Moshiach. See, it says, who are good in regard to matters of the entire community, and in regard to the hopes, material and spiritual, that can be understood by human awareness and sensitivity. And the ruach of the sinners will be rectified by means of influence of those who fear God, so Kiruv movement, which started, I think, like in the late 60s, early 70s, who keep the Torah and who are great in faith. And thus a great light will come to both groups. The manifestation of complete tshuva will come to the world, and then the people of Israel will be prepared for redemption. So now we're actually seeing this, my friends. We're seeing, the Baal Tshuva movement is happening. We have Torah being disseminated all over the world, all over the internet. People are learning more and more. Like, I have people who are like, who I never thought would be interested in, like, for example, making an aliyah, secular Jews who are seeing kind of the value of living in Israel and the value of learning more about their spiritual heritage, and it's happening. And people are connecting to each other. It's not just, this group sitting in their insular neighborhoods and these guys sitting in in Tel Aviv, and that's it, right? See, it says the supernal tzaddikim, the masters of the neshama, the holy men, the saints, as it were, for lack of a better term, the masters of their soul will be the unifying conduits through which the abundant flow of the light of the nefesh will pass from left to right, and the abundant flow of the light of the ruach from right to left. So guys, if you notice, like, when the Lubavitcher Rebbe, of blessed memory, was alive, he was a person who was somehow able to tap into every single Jew and into the consciousness of the Jewish nation, even people who didn't keep Shabbat or kosher or anything, like to the point where you can walk into any restaurant, even like a non-kosher restaurant, even in Israel or even in America, that's owned by a Jew, and what's on the wall? A picture of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Like my grandmother, dude, I go to my grandma's house, I don't know if she's an atheist or what, and I ask her, she goes to this, it's like one of these, like, it's called kindergartens for senior citizens, and it's run by, Chabad, by Lubavitchers. And they gave her a picture of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and she put it on her mantle in her apartment. I come into her apartment, and I say, Grandma, what's up? You're becoming Lubavitch? And I'm like, why do you have this picture? She's like, just in case. But it's amazing, my friends. It was a silly kind of response, like just in case of what, But you realize that the tzaddikim who are able to tap into the Jewish nation, these are the conduits to bring groups that will never be together within our nation to be together. All right. So he says, and the joy will be very great. Your priests will don righteousness, and your pious ones will sing joyfully. This is from Tehillim. And this will be accomplished through the power of the light of Moshiach, who is David himself, who lifted up the yoke of Teshuvah. For the sake of David, your servant, do not reject the face of your anointed. So, I'm just reading these commentaries. This is basically, what he goes into is basically what I explained to you guys. There's nothing really different from what I spoke about. Let's see, maybe there's something more that I missed. Yeah, basically that's basically the premise. He's basically saying that there's a value to these people who are building the state and building the infrastructure, and he's basically saying that these people are gonna, these two groups of people, the religious and secular, are gonna come apart, and then over time they're just gonna come together, and that's it. And we're gonna see Moshiach, and we're gonna build, we're gonna build our vineyards. We're gonna come back and drink the wine. And all this kind of stuff. My friends are talking. My friends are not listening to the shir. They are talking about the my actually doing the shir. The very idea of me doing the shir is somehow controversial in the eyes of some of my friends. But nevertheless, it's all good, my friends. It's all good in the hood. In any event, my friends, as you could see, what I just read to you guys for the past maybe 30 minutes, Rav Kook wrote about these things about 100 years ago. To us, these things that I just read them to you, they seem so obvious, right? Because they already either happened, or started to happen, or they're in the process of happening, or we could see that they will happen, they're about to happen. But at the time that he wrote these ideas, my friends, the Jewish world could not even fathom this. They could not even understand, what are you talking about? The Orthodox world was sitting and they were like, how can you venerate these people that are coming to build a state, and they lack Torah, they lack mitzvot, they're coming to build a state, it's going to be a treif state, it's going to be a state by Rishoyim. I mean, my friends, listen, they had a point. If you look at what's happening today in Israel, my friend who's watching, she said that, the state of Israel, unfortunately, it's dominated by the Erev Rav. It's dominated by people who hate Torah, who hate Hashem, who hate religion, who hate themselves, oftentimes. They don't want Israel to be what it's supposed to be, what it aspires to be. Right now there's a battle over annexation. There's a battle over the heart of Israel, the heart of the world, Judea and Samaria, where we got our names, the Jews from Judea. My friends, there's a battle over it. And so I could see where the frum world, the Haredi world, had a big problem, and even the tzaddikim of that world, the big rabbis of that world, had a big problem with what Rav Kook wrote, because they also saw what was going to be. They saw these machinations, and so what they focused on was the bad, right? They focused on what was to come, which is what we're seeing today. With the Supreme Court of Israel, and the leftists in Israel, and the fact that Israel has 15 Arab Knesset members, and the fact that what the media is doing, they saw these things. But at the same time, there's positive things, obviously. There's positive things. And it's funny because despite all the things that I just listed to you guys, we're still moving ahead with Judea and Samaria, and Jerusalem, and the Old City, and we still won 1967, and we still have Golan, and we still got, approval from, finally, a president who actually likes us for the first time ever. He approved the Golan. We have people learning Torah in Tel Aviv. My friend Jay Schultz is holding Shabbatons in Tel Aviv. We have all these things that are happening. We have people, applying for Aliyah for whatever reasons, right? Who are, supposedly 90,000 Jews are going to make Aliyah in the next year and a half. All of these machinations are happening, whether or not the Haredi world was right, and they were, about certain aspects of what we're seeing. But despite all that, all of these things are happening, and Rav Kook's words have proven to be true and real. And yeah, my friends, happening right before our eyes. And the vineyards are alive, or as they used to say in what was that? The movie The Sound of Music. The hills are alive with the sound of music, or the hills are alive with the grapes, my friends. And yeah, listen, it's all about. At the end of the day, my friends, we just had Parsha Shlach last week. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself the question, are you going to be like the 10 spies or are you going to be like the 2 spies? I hate to say it that, and they were big tzaddikim also, and the tzaddikim that went against Rav Kook, they were tzaddikim and they saw what was going to be, but at the same time, they rendered themselves, unfortunately, the 10 spies, and they were just the latest incarnation in a chain of, or their manifestation was just the latest incarnation in a chain of many, I guess you could say, tragedies in our nation, starting with the sin of the spies and going all the way to all of the pogroms, all of the exiles, subjugations, and all these things that we experienced for 3,500 years, which is a separate conversation. And now we're in the month of Tammuz, and we're going to come up to the 17th of Tammuz, and we're gonna basically have the 3 weeks, and we're going to enter into kind of that period of time where we remember and we look back and we go into kind of this realm of experientially understanding what this is talking about, what we've been experiencing for the last 3,500 years, even up to very recently, my friends, when we had the pullout of our fellow Jews from a place called Gush Katif near Gaza in 2005, and since then we've had nothing but rockets from our wonderful enemies, Hamas, who are actually the modern day incarnation of Amalek, our enemy who wants to kill us no matter what. And yeah, my friends, but at the time that he wrote his books, he was he was attacked mercilessly. He was put in harem, Rav Kook. Even now, my friends, you talk to some people, it's funny, you talk to some people in the orthodox world, especially in America. At this point, a lot of people consider Rav Kook some kind of, I guess you can call it a, like when you go to the zoo or the circus. It's kind of like this cute accoutrement to Torah. It's like a sweetener. What people don't really understand is that Rav Kook is not meant to be cute. Rav Kook's ideas are the very essence of what we're living in today. As my partner calls it, it's the key to the whole equation, right? It's really the key to the whole equation. It's not a cute thing. People say, "Oh, I love Rav Kook. I love Rav Kook. Yeah, it's great. I love Rav Kook." It's like, Zionism, right? No, it's not Zionism. It's something that you're experiencing today. You just refuse to see it because you like living in your nice little quaint American ghetto. And yeah, listen, I'm giving you some tough love, my friends. I talked to my friend about the Jews needing to wake up, and we usually talk about the secular Jews who need to wake up to Torah and mitzvot and Hashem. But I'll tell you guys something, even more so, maybe even more importantly, the Orthodox Jews who are living in the diaspora need to wake up to the fact that for the first time in 2,000 years, we have a land, a built-up land, a robust built-up land, again. We have an army, we have a government, however flawed it is. We have real estate. We have, we're sitting now in about a week. I don't know what we're going to annex. We're going to annex something, right? We're going to announce that we're annexing something. Even if it's not, unfortunately, the enclaves and the whole thing, but we're doing it, my friends. We're doing it. As Rabbi Kessin says, the Geulah, the redemption, is unstoppable and it is irrevocable. It's not a question of if, it's just a question of when. If we're not going to do it on July 1st, we could do it on Tu B'Av, or we could do it on Rosh Hashanah. If we're not going to do it on Rosh Hashanah, we'll do it in Heshvan. If we're not going to do it in Heshvan, to do the tikkun for all the bitter things that happen in Heshvan, we can do it in Hanukkah, right? The light of Hanukkah. My friends, the machinations have been cranked up. They've been started, and all that you see happening today with, whether it's happening in America, whether it's happening in Israel with the Supreme Court and leftists and elections and all these things, my friends. These are things that are just stumbling blocks or cones in the road to where we are headed. And Rav Kook spoke about it. And you know what? Sometimes, my friends, it's lonely at the top. When one person is saying something and the whole world is going against them, that only means that the world was not ready, didn't have the kli to contain the light that he was talking about. But my friends, we're getting closer and closer and closer to having the vessel, the kli, to contain the light. And B'ezrat Hashem, we will. And soon, and God willing, I will fly back to Israel in about a week. And when I land in Israel, I will turn on, I guess, a news report, whether it's on YouTube or on, the radio or some TV in the airport, and I will see a report that, hey, we just annexed Judea and Samaria, and including the enclaves, including what they call the enclaves, places like Ofra, and where my friend lives, Esh Kodesh, and Adeyad, and maybe even a place called Ma'oz Esther. If you guys saw the video with these little girls who basically left school, and they, like 8 of them, and they went out to build homes in the middle of flipping nowhere, and somehow these girls are, crazy and imbalanced, and they're impediment to peace. My friends, you know what? This is how things get done, right? Just like you come to a leftist and they can tell you in America, and they can tell you, you know how we get progress, how we get things done. We have a revolution. We go, all the way, the extra mile. My friends, sometimes these are things that we have to do. And that's it. B'ezrat Hashem. All right, my friends. It's been real. It's late. And tomorrow we'll cover some more ground. Tomorrow